The human soldier stumbled through the dark halls of the alien fortress, his boots scraping against the cold stone floor. His breath came fast and heavy, each exhale echoing like a ghost in the endless corridors. He had been separated from his unit during the raid, running from the alien guards who chased him through the maze-like structure. Now he found himself deep inside, in a place no one had ever dared to enter. The walls shimmered faintly with strange runes, glowing like faint embers hidden in the stone. Something about the silence pressed against him harder than any weapon. He reached for his rifle, but even the metal felt useless in this place. He turned a corner and froze. Before him was a door taller than 3 men, carved with spirals that seemed to twist and move under his eyes. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and steady, and he felt his own pulse match it. Without thinking, his hand rose toward the surface. The air around it was warm, vibrating like the skin of a drum. The moment his fingertips touched, the door opened with a low groan that echoed into forever. The chamber inside was unlike anything he had seen. The ceiling rose higher than a cathedral, with crystal veins running through it, glowing blue and red. The floor was polished black stone, smooth as glass. At the center was a pedestal, holding a crystal that seemed alive, pulsing with colors that changed with every heartbeat. He stepped forward, his eyes wide, his senses screaming both danger and wonder. He felt like an intruder in a temple, one mistake away from being judged. The door slammed shut behind him with a thunderous boom. He spun, rifle ready, but the massive stone had already sealed itself. No sound from outside came in. He was locked in. Panic rose in his throat, but before he could move, a low hum filled the chamber. It was not a sound. It was a feeling, deep inside his bones. The runes on the walls began to glow brighter, pulsing in time with the crystal at the center. Whispers brushed his ears, words he could not understand, voices layered one on another. He felt as if the chamber itself was alive, watching him, weighing him. He forced himself forward. His boots clicked on the glassy floor, the sound sharp and lonely. Each step felt heavier, as if the chamber wanted to hold him in place. His eyes fixed on the crystal. It seemed to call him, pulling him closer. He reached out, hesitant, his hand trembling. The moment his fingers touched it, light burst across the chamber. The runes flared like fire, the ceiling shook, and the floor rippled like liquid beneath him. He staggered back, shielding his eyes. When he opened them, he saw shapes moving in the walls. They were not carvings anymore. They were eyes, thousands of glowing alien eyes staring straight at him. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. His finger hovered on the rifle trigger, but he knew it would be useless here. The air grew colder, thick like water, and his breath came in sharp clouds. The whispers turned into words he almost understood, harsh syllables, accusing tones. He felt judged, condemned. A shadow moved at the far end of the chamber. He froze, fear tightening every muscle. From the darkness, a tall figure emerged. Her presence made the crystal's light dim as if bowing to her power. She wore flowing robes that shimmered like liquid metal, her face hidden behind a mask carved with sharp, cruel lines. Her voice filled the chamber, louder than thunder, sharper than blades. "Insolent human," she cried, her words echoing and twisting in the air. "You have entered the wrong orifice, one you have defiled with your touch." The soldier stumbled back, his eyes locked on her towering form. She moved with terrifying grace, her steps silent though the stone shook under her presence. Behind her, more shadows moved, guards in spiked armor, their long spears dripping with venom. Their eyes burned with hatred as they spread out, circling him like hunters around prey. His mouth went dry, but he forced out words. I didn't know. I was only..." "Silence!" she roared, her hands glowing with crimson light. The walls shook as her fury poured into the chamber. "This place is sacred. Even my kind are forbidden to enter without right and blood. And you, nothing but a fragile human, dare to touch what has slept for centuries?" The soldier's chest tightened, fear clawing at him. But something strange happened. The crystal he had touched flared again, brighter than before. A wave of light spread from it, rushing over his body like a shield. The alien guards flinched, their spears shaking in their hands. Even the Mistress, the ruler of the fortress, stepped back one pace, her masked face tilting in shock. The soldier felt the warmth of the light protecting him. It pulsed with his heartbeat, alive, as if the chamber itself had chosen him. He didn't understand, but he knew one thing. He was no longer just a trespasser. The chamber had awakened because of him. The mistress's voice broke through the silence, filled with rage and fear. Impossible! The chamber responds to you? Her hands trembled, though her voice tried to stay strong. No human should wield its will. You will pay with your blood. The guards raised their spears again, their eyes filled with hesitation. The light around the human soldier grew stronger, wrapping him like armor. His fear remained, but now something else stirred inside him, a spark of defiance. He stood taller, his rifle steady in his hands. The mistress's mask tilted lower, her fury clear. The chamber shook again, the crystal pulsing in rhythm with the soldier's heart. The air itself felt like it was waiting, holding its breath for what would come next. The mistress stood tall, her robes swirling as if carried by a storm that belonged only to her. Her masked face tilted toward the human, and her voice cracked like thunder. You have defiled what is not yours. Your life ends here. Her words echoed through the chamber, bouncing off the glowing walls until it sounded like a chorus of angry gods. The soldier's hands tightened around his rifle, his heart hammering so loud he thought they could all hear it. The alien guards stepped closer, their spears gleaming with a strange green poison that hissed when drops touched the black stone floor. He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, the mistress's hand lifted. A wave of force struck him like a hammer, throwing him onto his back. The rifle slid across the floor, far out of reach. His body burned, every muscle trembling under the invisible weight that pressed him down. He gasped, his eyes widening in panic, but then the crystal at the center of the chamber pulsed again. The same shield of light that had saved him before rose around his body. The weight lifted. He sucked in air, rolling to his knees, his eyes fixed on the mistress. Her fury grew. Sparks of red lightning crackled between her hands, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. Why does this chamber protect you? Why does it shield a worthless human? She spread her arms wide, commanding the guards forward. They lunged, their spears stabbing toward him, but the moment the tips touched the light, they shattered into dust. The guards stumbled back, fear flashing in their eyes. Some dropped their broken shafts, backing away as if he were cursed. The human's chest heaved, his mind spinning. He did not understand any of it. He was supposed to die here, cut down like prey, but something greater had decided otherwise. The mistress, however, refused to accept it. She stormed closer, her feet striking the stone with the sound of war drums. Her power wrapped the chamber, pulling the runes on the walls into blazing fire. Her presence was overwhelming, pressing against him, trying to crush him again. But the crystal fought back, sending waves of light that pushed her energy aside. The battle was no longer between her and the soldier. It was between her and the chamber itself. She stopped only a few steps away, her voice dripping with venom. You are no chosen one. You are a mistake, a trespasser, a thief. I will rip this secret from your flesh, even if the chamber itself must be torn apart. The words dug into him, but at the same time, they sparked something inside. He was shaking, terrified, but also angry. He thought of his people, the comrades he had lost, the lives crushed under the boots of her empire. Maybe it was no accident that he had found this place. Maybe the chamber had chosen him for a reason. The guards shifted uneasily, their confidence broken. Some whispered to each other in their alien tongue, their eyes darting between the mistress and the human glowing in the light. For the first time, he saw doubt on their faces. They feared him, not for his strength, but because the sacred chamber itself had bent to him. The mistress noticed it too. Her fury turned wild, her mask tilting as she screamed at them. Do not falter. He is nothing. End him now. Her command rattled the chamber, and the guards surged forward again. The soldier grabbed his rifle and fired. The rounds struck the floor near the guards, forcing them back. But again, the crystal's power flared, doing more than his bullets could. Blinding light flashed out, lifting the guards off their feet, hurling them across the chamber like ragdolls. They hit the walls with sickening thuds and crumpled to the floor, groaning. The human had not even aimed at them. The chamber had fought for him. The mistress's voice grew lower, but sharper, filled with both rage and something he hadn't expected. Fear. This is forbidden. No human should wield the chamber's will. No human should even be here. She raised her arms, summoning all her power. Red lightning filled the air, striking across the chamber like deadly whips. Each crack split the stone, and the runes dimmed under her strength. But again, the crystal glowed brighter, answering her fury with calm defiance. The light wrapped the human tighter, like armor growing stronger with every strike. The clash of powers shook the ground. The floor cracked. Dust fell from the high ceiling, and the air grew hot and thick, almost impossible to breathe. The soldier staggered, trying to stay upright, his body torn between fear and the strange energy pulsing through his veins. The mistress screamed, pouring more of herself into the attack, but every time she struck, the chamber resisted, forcing her back. For the first time, her steps faltered. She had never known this kind of resistance, not from any rival, not from any enemy. She lowered her hands slowly, her voice trembling with both rage and disbelief. The chamber, it obeys you. Her words were a whisper now, but the whole chamber seemed to repeat them, carrying them like an accusation. Her guards, scattered and injured, looked at the human with awe and dread. The soldier stood panting, his rifle shaking in his hands, but his eyes locked on the mistress. He had no idea why this was happening, but he knew one thing. He could not show weakness now. The mistress's fury burned anew, her voice rising once more, shaking the walls. You are no savior. You are a defiler. You think the chamber has chosen you? It will destroy you, human, and I will watch you beg for death. Her words rolled through the chamber like thunder, but beneath them was something else, uncertainty. The human could feel it. The mistress feared him, feared what the chamber had awakened, and though he did not yet understand, he knew the battle had only begun. The soldier stood in the center of the glowing chamber, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. The shield of light that wrapped around him flickered but did not vanish, pulsing like a second heartbeat. The mistress's red energy faded slowly from her hands as she stared at him, her masked face frozen. The silence that followed was not empty. It was thick, heavy, filled with the tension of something ancient watching them both. Then the runes on the walls began to shift. The soldier blinked in disbelief. The shapes moved, curling and twisting, rearranging themselves like living things. He had never seen writing like this, but somehow in his mind, he began to understand. They were not words of her language or his. They were instructions, visions, memories carved into light. The runes showed wars fought long before her empire existed. Massive ships burning, planets shattering, armies running in terror. He saw alien faces he did not recognize, species long gone, screaming as fire consumed them. And in the center of it all was the same chamber, standing untouched, waiting. Then the runes changed again, and he saw something that made his blood run cold. It was him, or someone who looked like him, a human. A figure standing where he now stood, holding the same light while alien empires crumbled around him. His throat tightened. He wanted to look away, but he could not. The chamber was showing him a destiny he never asked for. The mistress screamed, her voice filled with terror and rage. No! Lies! This is not possible! No human should be part of the prophecy! She struck the wall with her hand, but the runes ignored her fury. They continued to move, glowing brighter, burning their story into the chamber. The guards, still recovering from the last blast, looked at the visions with wide, horrified eyes. They whispered among themselves, their voices trembling, their fear growing. The soldier staggered back, clutching his rifle tightly. What is this?" he whispered, but no one answered. The crystal at the center pulsed again, and this time its light rushed into his body. He gasped as heat and cold slammed into him at once. Images filled his mind, maps of stars, blueprints of machines, voices speaking in languages he did not know but somehow understood. He dropped to one knee, clutching his head, feeling as if his skull would burst. But the chamber did not let him collapse. It forced the knowledge into him, thread by thread, until his veins burned with power that was not his. The mistress stepped closer, her mask trembling, her voice sharp and desperate. "Stop this! You don't know what you are doing. You will destroy us all." She lifted her hand to strike again, but when her energy touched him this time, it fizzled into nothing. The chamber rejected her, protecting him even more fiercely. She fell back a step, her shoulders rising and falling as she tried to steady herself. Her voice cracked with disbelief. "The chamber accepts you, a human." The soldier rose slowly, his legs weak but steady. His eyes glowed faintly with the same light as the runes. He looked at the mistress, and though his fear remained, a strange calm sat beneath it now. "It's not me," he said, his voice shaking. "It's this place. It's choosing." The runes flared so bright they blinded everyone for a heartbeat. Then they shifted again, and the crystal shot beams of light across the chamber. They formed shapes in the air, fleets of ships unlike any the galaxy had ever built. Weapons that looked impossible, energy bending in ways that defied logic. The soldier's breath caught. These were not dreams. They were blueprints. The chamber was showing him how to build, how to fight, how to win wars against empires like hers. His stomach twisted with dread. This knowledge was not a gift, it was a weapon. The mistress fell to her knees, her voice a raw whisper. "For centuries, my people tried to awaken this place. Thousands bled in its name. And now, you, a filthy human, are the key." She pounded her fists against the floor, her scream echoing through the chamber. "This cannot be! This must not be!" The soldier took a step back, his eyes darting between her and the glowing visions. He did not want this. He had only wanted to survive, to find his unit, to get out alive. But now the chamber had tied him to something far greater. He felt the weight of it crushing his shoulders. Every choice from this moment would change not just his life, but the fate of entire worlds. The guards slowly lowered their weapons, their fear too heavy to ignore. Some looked at him with hatred, others with awe, but none dared to attack. The mistress rose again, trembling. Her mask cracked from the force of her rage. Her voice broke with fury. "You think this power will save you? No, it will destroy you. You are not chosen. You are cursed." The soldier shook his head, his voice low. "Then why does it keep protecting me? Why does it show me these things?" He lifted his hand, and the runes responded, glowing in rhythm with his movement. The crystal's light danced across his skin, almost alive. The mistress's silence was louder than her screams. She turned away for a moment, her hands clenching into fists. She knew what he was beginning to suspect. The chamber was not theirs. It belonged to something older, something that had left behind its legacy. And for reasons she could not understand, it had chosen humanity to carry that legacy forward. The soldier stood in the center, surrounded by visions of fleets and fire, his mind burning with knowledge he never wanted. His heart pounded with both fear and defiance. He did not know what was coming next, but he knew the mistress was right about one thing. Nothing would ever be the same again. The mistress's fury did not fade. Her voice tore through the chamber, sharp and cruel. "If the chamber obeys you, then let it test you. Let it tear you apart, piece by piece." She lifted her hand, and the guards, though afraid, obeyed. They dragged heavy chains made of black metal that shimmered with an oily sheen. The soldier struggled, but their strength was overwhelming. They forced him to his knees and locked the chains tight around his wrists and ankles. The metal bit into his skin, cold and merciless, humming with alien power. Every movement sent sharp jolts of pain racing through his body. They dragged him toward the pedestal, forcing him against it. Strange devices, sharp and cruel, were pulled from the walls as if waiting for this moment. Spikes pressed against his arms, glowing rings tightened around his chest, and a crown of needles hovered above his head. The mistress watched with cold satisfaction, her mask tilting down at him. "If you are chosen, survive this trial. If not, your body will rot here, and the chamber will forget you." The soldier gasped, sweat rolling down his face as the devices pressed closer. He braced for pain. The crown of needles slammed onto his head, stabbing into his skin. White-hot fire ripped through his skull. He screamed, his body thrashing, but the chains held him down. The rings around his chest tightened, crushing his ribs until he thought they would break. His vision blurred, stars bursting in his eyes, and he wanted to let go, to fall into the darkness clawing at him. But then something strange happened. The pain changed. The fire in his veins did not destroy him. It fed him. His scream turned into a ragged gasp as light burst from his wounds. The needles glowed, not with blood, but with the same energy that pulsed through the chamber. The metal chains that bound him began to hum in rhythm with his heartbeat. The black stone floor trembled beneath him. The alien devices meant to break him seemed to bend to his will. Instead of tearing him apart, they were remaking him. The mistress stepped back, her voice cracking. "No, this is not possible." She gestured for the guards to tighten the restraints, but the devices ignored their commands. They locked harder around the human, but the energy pouring from the crystal joined with his body, pushing back against their control. His muscles trembled as the light carved itself into his skin like glowing scars. His veins burned as if liquid fire flowed through them. His vision filled with flashes of stars, weapons, and alien voices. But beneath it all was one truth. The chamber had decided he was worthy. His chains began to melt. The oily black metal sizzled, dripping onto the floor like tar. The guards stepped back in terror as the restraints cracked and fell away. The soldier stumbled to his feet, his body steaming, his chest scarred but alive. His breathing was ragged, but his eyes glowed faintly with the same light as the crystal. He was no longer just a man. Something inside him had changed. The mistress's fury returned, her voice breaking with both rage and fear. "You should be ashes! No one survives the trial, not even my kind!" Her hands shook, though she tried to hide it. For centuries, her people had feared the chamber's judgment. Thousands of her own had entered and never returned, their bodies broken into dust. Yet this human, this outsider, stood alive before her, glowing with power she could not command. The soldier stared at his hands, trembling. He felt stronger, but at the same time more alien than human. The energy inside him was alive, whispering at the edge of his mind, showing him visions he could not understand. He clenched his fists, forcing the whispers down, but the glow did not fade. He turned his eyes toward the mistress, and for the first time she stepped back from him. The guards whispered in panic, their fear plain in their eyes. Some dropped their weapons and fled to the edges of the chamber, unwilling to face him. Others held their spears shakily, unsure whether to obey their mistress or their fear. The mistress's mask tilted low, her voice dripping with venom. "You are not chosen. You are cursed. The chamber toys with you, human. It will tear your soul apart before long." But even as she spoke, the pedestal behind him blazed with new light. The crystal's glow spread across the floor, racing up the walls until the whole chamber shimmered. The runes shifted again, forming spirals that circled around the soldier's feet. He could feel the energy pulsing in time with his heart. He was connected now, bound to the chamber in a way that could not be undone. He staggered, but did not fall. His scars burned, but they did not weaken him. They were proof that he had endured what no other could. The mistress hissed, her voice sharp and desperate. "Do not mistake survival for victory. This chamber's secrets belong to my people. I will not let a human steal them." The soldier met her gaze, his voice low and rough from the trial. "Maybe it's not about you. Maybe it never was." Her silence was louder than any scream. She trembled, and for the first time her mask cracked, a faint line splitting across its surface. Her empire, her power, her faith in her people's supremacy, all of it was breaking before her eyes. And standing at the center of the storm was a human who refused to die. The chamber's hum grew louder, a rhythm that filled the air like a drumbeat of destiny. The soldier, scarred but standing, realized the truth. The mistress could threaten him, the guards could surround him, the empire could hate him, but the chamber had chosen him, and there was no turning back. The mistress's anger softened into something more dangerous. Her mask tilted, her voice no longer thunder but a cold whisper that slid like a blade into the soldier's mind. "You think this power makes you strong? No. Power without control is nothing, and I can give you control." She stepped closer, her robes gliding across the black stone floor, her eyes behind the mask fixed on him with sharp intensity. The guards hung back, silent, unsure if they were watching a negotiation or a trap. The soldier's chest still burned with the scars of the trial, his body trembling with the strange energy now living inside him. He wanted to raise his rifle, to point it at her face, but his hands shook. He was exhausted, confused, and afraid of the whispers that still pressed against his thoughts. The mistress noticed his weakness, and she leaned closer, her voice softer but dripping with venom. "You are lost in this chamber's lies. You don't understand its secrets. But I do. I was born for them. I have studied them all my life. Give me the power, and I will show you how to use it. Together we could rule. You would never need to fear your fragile human life again." Her words crawled into him, tempting him with visions. He saw himself no longer as prey or soldier, but as a king, standing at the head of fleets, alien empires bowing before him. The chamber's light blazing from his hands as he shaped the future. The thought terrified him as much as it thrilled him. He clenched his fists, his breath coming fast, trying to push the vision away. "I don't want your empire," he said through gritted teeth. "I don't want to rule. I just want to live." The mistress laughed, the sound sharp and mocking. "Then you are a fool. You think the chamber gives without taking? You are already bound. You cannot walk away. That light inside you will grow until it devours you. Without me, you will burn." Her hand reached out, her long fingers brushing near his arm, not touching but close enough to make his skin crawl. The energy around him sparked in response, the shield flickering as if unsure whether to fight her or surrender to her touch. The crystal pulsed again, brighter, and the runes shifted. New visions filled the chamber, hanging in the air like ghosts. He saw fleets burning, alien empires collapsing, worlds reshaped. And always at the center was a figure like him, a human, carrying the chamber's light. The mistress looked at the visions too, and for the first time her voice cracked. "No, it cannot be. Humanity? They were never meant to be part of this design." She turned her mask toward him, her voice trembling between rage and disbelief. "Do you understand what this means? If those visions are true, your kind will rise while mine falls. You are the end of us." The soldier shook his head, backing away, his voice raw. "I didn't ask for this. I don't even want it." His fear was real, but deep beneath it was a stubborn spark. He thought of his people, scattered across colonies, fighting to survive against empires like hers. If the chamber really chose humanity, maybe it was not by accident. Maybe it was because humanity had always been underestimated, always called weak until it was too late. The mistress saw the spark in his eyes and grew desperate. She tore her mask from her face, revealing sharp features, beautiful and terrifying. Her eyes glowed faintly, filled with both fury and something else, something close to pleading. "Listen to me, human. You do not understand the burden. I could share it with you. I could take half of it, more even. Let me hold the power, and I will protect you. You cannot carry this alone." Her voice dropped to almost a whisper, heavy with temptation. "Give yourself to me, and I will give you everything." The soldier's heart pounded. For a moment he almost believed her, almost wanted to surrender, to let her carry the unbearable weight pressing against his mind. But the chamber's light surged suddenly, answering the thought. The runes flashed like fire, and the visions changed. He saw the mistress, standing beside him, holding the same power, and using it to enslave worlds, to twist the galaxy into chains of her will. His stomach turned. The chamber was warning him. If he gave her what she wanted, she would not save him. She would destroy everyone. His voice was low but steady now. "No. This isn't yours to have. It never was." The mistress's face twisted, her eyes narrowing with venom. For a brief instant, sorrow flashed across her expression, but then it hardened into rage. She stepped back, her voice breaking into a scream. "You dare reject me? You dare deny the mistress of this empire?" Her hands burned with red lightning again, and the chamber shook under her fury. The guards flinched, unsure whether to run or bow. The tension snapped, and the chamber filled with violent energy once more. The soldier braced himself, the light inside him pulsing stronger, his scars burning as if ready to tear open again. He did not know how to fight her, did not know how to wield what the chamber had given him, but he knew he could not give it away. He stood firm, his rifle shaking in his hand, but his eyes locked on hers. The mistress pointed at him, her voice echoing like thunder. "Then you will die alone, human, burned by the very gift you cling to, and when your corpse falls, I will claim what is mine." Her words rang with hatred, but underneath, he could still hear the trace of fear. She had offered him everything, and he had denied her. Now all that remained between them was war. The fortress trembled as if the walls themselves could no longer hold the storm brewing inside the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling, cracks stretched across the polished black stone, and the runes pulsed wildly like a heartbeat gone mad. The crystal in the center glowed with unbearable brightness, sending flashes of light across the walls. The soldier knew something was about to happen. His body shook, his scars burned as though they were alive. And the energy inside him screamed for release. The mistress raised her arms, her voice sharp and filled with fury. "You cannot escape, human. You are trapped in the jaws of destiny." Her power surged, and red lightning snaked across the floor, tearing it open, splitting stone into rivers of molten heat. The guards shouted in panic, some running from the chamber, while others held their spears tight, their loyalty to their mistress stronger than their fear. The soldier took a step back, his heart hammering, his eyes darting for any path out. Then the crystal exploded with a pulse of energy that threw everyone to the ground. The runes lit up like fire, and the walls shifted. Passages opened where none had existed before, narrow corridors glowing faintly with guiding light. The soldier stumbled to his feet, his body aching, but the meaning was clear. The chamber was showing him a way out. He grabbed his rifle and ran. His boots pounded against the shifting floor as he slipped into the glowing passage. The walls groaned as if alive, sealing behind him, cutting off the mistress's lightning. He could still hear her scream, her voice carrying through the stone. Run if you wish. You cannot outrun what you carry inside you. Her rage followed him like a shadow, but the chamber itself seemed determined to push him forward. The corridor twisted and turned, forcing him deeper into the fortress. Stone walls reshaped as he passed, closing behind him, opening ahead, guiding his path like a living maze. His breath came ragged, his rifle clutched tight, his eyes wide at every sudden glow in the darkness. Strange carvings appeared on the walls as he ran, showing more visions. Alien worlds torn apart, great machines rising, fleets burning under weapons that bent reality. Always the visions ended with the same shape, a human holding light against the void. His stomach twisted with dread, but he couldn't stop. Behind him, the ground shook with approaching footsteps. The mistress was coming. He could feel her power pressing against the walls, tearing through the fortress to reach him. Her voice roared, echoing down the corridor. You are mine. You cannot leave this place alive. He pushed himself harder, lungs burning, legs heavy, but the chamber kept him moving. Sections of the passage collapsed behind him, sealing off the guards that tried to follow. Energy bursts exploded at his back, forcing him to dive forward, scraping his hands against the stone. Every moment was survival, every breath a fight against exhaustion. At last he saw it, the faint outline of the fortress gates ahead, massive slabs of stone reinforced with alien metal. Beyond them, faint light promised open air and freedom. His chest swelled with desperate hope. He ran faster, but just as he reached the gates, the air in front of him rippled like heat rising from fire. From the distortion, the mistress stepped through. She landed before him, her robes glowing, her mask cracked, her eyes burning with unstoppable fury. She blocked the exit, her body radiating energy like a living storm. The soldier skidded to a halt, sweat dripping from his face, his rifle trembling in his grip. His hope shattered in an instant. He was so close to escape, yet the mistress stood like an unbreakable wall between him and freedom. Her voice shook with both rage and triumph. Did you think you could flee me, human? Did you think the chamber's tricks could keep me away? You have awakened what you do not understand. You are a thief of destiny. And now you will pay. She raised her hands, and red lightning tore through the air, striking the walls, cracking the stone, filling the corridor with the smell of burning rock. The gates behind her rattled but held shut. She had trapped him here, just as she promised. The soldier lifted his rifle, firing round after round, but the bullets disintegrated against the wall of energy around her. She advanced slowly, each step shaking the ground. His fear was suffocating. But then the chamber's glow flared once more inside him. His scars lit up, and the light pushed through his skin, wrapping him like armor. The mistress's eyes widened briefly, then narrowed again with hatred. The corridor shook violently as her power met the chamber's light inside him. Sparks filled the air, red lightning clashing with white fire. The soldier staggered, his arms burning, his mind filled with whispers, urging him to unleash what the chamber had given him. He didn't know how. He didn't want to. But he knew if he failed now, he would never see freedom. The mistress screamed, her power crashing against him like a tidal wave. You will not leave this fortress alive. You belong to me. Her fury echoed, each word shaking the walls. The gates behind her trembled again, but still did not break. She was too strong, her presence too overwhelming. The soldier dug his heels into the stone, refusing to bow. The energy within him pulsed harder, his scars glowing brighter until his entire body blazed like a beacon. He felt the chamber's will guiding him, pushing him to resist. The clash filled the corridor with blinding light and deafening sound. Guards who had tried to follow fell back, shielding their eyes from the storm. For a moment, it seemed like neither side would win. The mistress's power cracked the walls, shaking the fortress to its foundation. while the soldier's light grew, raw and untamed, surging like fire from his veins. His knees buckled, his vision blurred, but he held on. His voice broke from his throat in a defiant cry, a sound of survival, not surrender. The mistress advanced another step, her fury unrelenting, but she was no longer smiling. For the first time, she looked uncertain, as if she could sense the chamber's light pushing her back. The air between them boiled with their clash, the fortress groaning as if it would collapse. The soldier's eyes burned with the same glow as the crystal, his body screaming in both pain and strength. He had no plan, no weapon, but himself, yet he refused to bow. He was trapped, cornered, facing a force beyond anything human. But he stood, and the chamber's light stood with him. The mistress's fury filled the air like a storm without end. Her body glowed with crimson power, every movement sending sparks across the fractured walls. The ground beneath her cracked as if the fortress itself bent under her rage. She raised her arms, her voice cutting through the roaring chaos. "You will not leave, human. You have defiled what is sacred, and your blood will wash this chamber clean." The soldier stood his ground, though every part of his body screamed to run. His scars blazed with white light, his rifle forgotten at his side. The chamber's energy pulsed inside him, wild and untamed, guiding his heart with a rhythm stronger than fear. He could feel the mistress's power pressing down on him like a mountain, but the light inside pushed back, refusing to let him break. His breath came ragged, but his eyes locked on hers, unflinching. She struck first. Red lightning erupted from her hands, twisting into spears of fire that split the air. They slammed toward him with the force of falling stars. He threw his arms up instinctively, and the light within him answered. A shield of pure energy burst out, catching the spears midair. The clash filled the corridor with a deafening explosion, sending shockwaves that hurled the guards against the walls. The fortress groaned, huge stones crashing down, but neither the mistress nor the human yielded. She advanced, each step crushing the floor beneath her. "You cannot win, human. This power will eat you alive. You are not chosen. You are a mistake." She slashed her hand, and a wave of energy carved through the stone, racing toward him like a wall of fire. His body moved before his mind could think, his own light bending and striking forward. The two forces met in the center with a thunderous crack, red against white, sparks spraying like stars. For a moment, it looked like they were equal, but then her strength pushed harder. His feet slid back, his legs trembling as the wave pressed closer. His shield cracked, pieces of light splintering away. He gritted his teeth, shouting as he forced the energy back with everything he had. His scars burned brighter, flooding his body with unbearable heat. The wave stopped, then slowly began to retreat, inch by inch, until it exploded outward in a storm of sparks. Both of them staggered from the force, the air between them boiling with fury. The mistress's mask was half broken, her face twisted with rage. Her voice shook but did not falter. "You fight like one who refuses to die, but you will die, human. No chamber, no light, no destiny can change that." She raised both hands, pulling every ounce of her power. The entire fortress screamed as her fury ripped through it, red lightning filling the air until it seemed the walls themselves would shatter apart. The soldier's chest rose and fell as he steadied himself. He could feel the chamber's will pulsing in time with his heartbeat, urging him not to give up. He had no training for this power, no understanding of its limits, yet in that moment he realized he didn't need to control it. He only needed to trust it. Closing his eyes for a brief second, he let the light pour out of him. His body became a beacon, every scar glowing like fire carved into flesh. The mistress roared and unleashed her storm. Red lightning struck with a force to obliterate mountains. The soldier screamed as he lifted his arms, the white light inside him exploding outward to meet her attack. The clash was deafening, shaking the fortress to its core. Stone shattered, the gates behind her burst open, and the sky outside turned red and white from their fury. Guards fled in terror, some crushed by falling debris, others blinded by the brightness. Neither side gave ground. The mistress's power poured endlessly, her scream echoing like a beast in pain and rage. The soldier's light, though wild and untamed, burned brighter with every second, fueled not by hate, but by defiance. He thought of the soldiers he had lost, the colonies burned by her empire, the helpless who had cried for help no one came to give. His anger fused with the chamber's energy, not destructive, but unyielding. His voice broke out through the roar, "I will not die here." The white light surged, breaking through her storm. It tore her lightning apart, scattering it like ashes in the wind. The force slammed into the mistress, throwing her back across the corridor. She hit the wall with an impact that cracked it wide, dust and stone raining down. For a moment, silence filled the fortress, broken only by the soldier's ragged breathing. His body swayed, exhausted, but still standing. The mistress pushed herself up slowly, her body trembling. Her mask shattered completely, revealing eyes filled not only with rage, but something new, fear. She stared at him as though she no longer understood what he was. Her voice came low, almost a whisper. "The chamber has chosen humanity." Her words dripped with disbelief, with the horror of an empire that had thought itself eternal now facing its end. The soldier did not answer. He had no strength for words. He only stood, glowing faintly, his body scarred and broken but alive. The gates behind her stood open now, light spilling in from the outside. Freedom waited, yet he did not move. His eyes remained fixed on her, because he knew this was not the end. She still had strength, still had her will, and she would never stop hunting him. The mistress rose to her feet, blood trailing from her mouth, her voice breaking as she spat the words. "This is not over, human. You may stand today, but this light will consume you, and when it does, your kind will burn with you." She staggered back, her guards rushing to her side, dragging her away from the ruined corridor. The soldier sank to one knee, his hands pressed against the cracked floor. His body shook, every muscle screaming, but his heart beat strong. The chamber's glow faded slowly, leaving him in the dim light of the ruined fortress. He looked at his trembling hands, then at the shattered walls around him. He had survived the impossible. He had fought the mistress and lived. But the price was clear. The galaxy would never forget this day, and neither would he.